I know as a Grand Randonneur, it's definitely a grand endeavor to undertake this 1200K. And certainly there are a lot of preparation that's required. By the way, are you going to record this or not?
I'm going to try.
Thank you. And so,
I
first
should
of
note,
all,
I do not have an apple, so it might
First of
not
all, my
work.
name is Wei Sun. I'm sort of the Grand Poobah, aka RBA, Regional Brevet Administrator for San Diego region. So I am, quote, appointed by default by RUSA when my predecessor decided to yield the administrative work for me to take over. And over these years, our purpose is to grow long-distance cycling. And certainly our first priority is to encourage people to explore and appreciate what we have here in San Diego County, in the adjoining counties of LA, and even across the state of Arizona. But certainly, all of us, once every 4 years, almost like the sparrows that go to San Juan Capistrano, we fly to Paris to undertake this historic ride. And so today, I am blessed to have Tim Sullivan, who have completed, I don't know how many? Six PBPs. Still, it's the 6. And then Patrick, I think you completed 2. Okay, and then Nick. All right. So we're all around to be able to certainly at various rides to be able to answer any additional questions you have. We'll definitely stay behind after the quote formal talk to address any additional issue queries that you feel that perhaps is easier to be addressed one-on-one discussion. So first of all, I just want to go through with by the way, it's also highlighted. Lori is also a ancien in 2023. Okay, so you can see that it is such a joyous endeavor that she's going to go out there and now bring bar PBP in 2027.
David,
Dave, 1999,
long time ago.
Now that he's retired,
I can do the ride.
So anyway, first of all, do you have a copy of the presentation that's on your phone? So if not, then you can just scan this QR code, and then I know I have to provide the link in the email today. Okay. All right. So as presenters, we get to have the hard copy. So are we good with? Okay. Let's just get that taken care of. All right. First is the session agenda. So basically what we're going to go through is the introduction about PBP, kind of give you a quick overview, and then we're going to go through the route. Now, right now, everything's preliminary, but just want to give you an idea of some of the vital stats. The logistics you will face while you're on the ride, be it on or off the bike. And we definitely want to go through the equipment, both about the bike and also about all the other accessories and boxes and whatnot that we have to address. Actually, that will be covered in the next topic, dealing with flight and bike transport. All right, and then the two most issue that most people have are about the qualifications. The year in which PBP will be running, which will be 2027. But why we are doing the info session today is to also answer questions, or to outline what is usually required for the pre-registration. So that we will cover in detail. Anyway, so without further ado, Tim will cover the next slide on the overview of PBP.
And they did it every 10 years, so this is the second edition was 1901. It was professionals at the time. It was won by a guy by the name of Maurice Guérin. I probably mispronounced his last name. Just going through what's called the Dreyfus Affair. And PBP was sponsored by a newspaper. And the publisher and the editor of the newspaper were on opposite sides of the Dreyfus Affair. So the editor leaves, starts his own newspaper, sits around. I've got to sponsor a bike ride, and in 1903 was the first Tour de France, also won by Maurice Guérin. And so that goes back to the history 1931, they opened it up to us amateurs and got rid of the professionals. And so you'll see that this is, I forget what edition, 21st edition. That relates back to 1931. They were doing it every 5 years or so. It got interrupted by World War II, and then around 1951 or 55, they went to every 4 years. So one of the fascinating things about the ride is, like in 23, there were 6,400 riders started, 66 countries. So there's an international flair to it. In 27, it's going to start on August 22nd. It generally starts on a Sunday night and you finish on Thursday. It depends on what start you're doing. So you've got your choice on start times. There's an 80-hour start, which will start, they'll be the first riders to go out on Sunday. And then 2 hours later, they start the 90-hour start. 90-hour riders start at 6 p.m. And then Monday morning at, I believe it's 5 in the morning, they have the 84-hour start. And if you do it 80 hours, you have to finish it in 80 hours. If you do 90, you've got 90 hours to do it. I always do the 90-hour start because time is money in the bank. And out of the time I was in the best shape I was ever in 2003, I rode with a friend she was really fast. We did 600K that year to qualify out of Cayucas, and we did it in like 31 hours. So we were in good shape. Her knee started going out at mile one knee went out at mile 150, the other knee went out at mile 200, and we were stopping at pharmacies the whole time. We finished just beyond 4 hours. So we were happy that we did the 90-hour start. Judge yourself. Some people like doing the 84-hour start so they can sleep through the night before, and you don't have to ride through the night if you're doing the 80 or the 90-hour. So that's one of the things you have to judge. With the start in Rambouillet, if you're not staying somewhere by the start location, after we'll talk about accommodations, etc. Then you've got to figure out how you're going to get to a start in Rambouillet at 5 because the trains aren't running yet. So that's one thing you have to get going or consider. Registration cost is roughly, is 190 euros in 2023. It's never been really steep. We have no idea how much it's going to be in 27. But that just pays for your start time and whatever goodies you get with it. When you're on the course, you have to pay. Nicole to talk about his experience in 23 about how much cash you need. But food you have to pay for food. You have to pay at the controls. They have a place where you can sleep. You have to pay like €5 for getting a cot or a map somewhere. So you have to have the ability to pay on the road, but the registration fee is not that expensive. So with that,
It's all cash. It's always been cash.
Not
what
anymore.
yeah.
No, I'll go into a little more details. It used to be mostly cash, but almost everywhere it takes cards or home payments now.
So my final comment on the overview, which is not on your outline. I've always thought Paris-Brest-Paris PBP was the most fun you could ever have on a ride because you're riding in France. You've got the right of way. When cars pass you, instead of giving you one finger, they applaud you with both hands. People on the route, and somewhere in here, there's a thing about food on the route. you'll go by houses, and people will be in front of their house with food, and they don't want money necessarily. They'll give it to you. You'll have kids giving you biscuits, and they taste real good. 20 hours on the bike. So I don't know if you experienced that, Lori. It's a totally unique experience for riding. One of the most unique things is if on the return route, if you go through Fougères, which we don't know about the route yet, about 20 kilometers or so left in there with the that's open. About 20 kilometers outside of Fougères on the return, there's a guy who sets up a table out of basically plywood. He's giving you coffee, crepes, or a sweet bread, depending on the year, and he doesn't want any money. I tried to give him a euro once, he saw it, he caught me, and instead he gives you a little piece of paper with his address, and he wants you to send him a book. And then over on the garage, he's got plywood with postcards. So there's one sheet of plywood with postcards from the U.S. And it's just really, I mean, it's a unique thing based on the history of the ride and how the French still embrace it after all these years. So with that,
Said about it being a joy for not only you but also the community around you. Two of the highlights for me in 2023 were turning down a small road and there being a bunch of kids with fruits who want to run alongside you and hand you an orange or hand you a banana because they're just so excited to see all the bikes there. Or stopping when there were some people who were just out on their lawn chairs hanging out watching the bikes go by. They had some water and food for everyone, and they gave us the last of their ice from their beer cooler so that we could get colder water on our way out. They were just so happy to see us and to wave us on and cheer for us. So you get a lot of support. And it's just really uplifting the whole way through. So I'll talk a little bit about the route. I'm going to talk in generality because the route hasn't been officially published. But you start from actually a little bit west of Paris, about 30 minutes by train, in a town called Rambouillet. It's a pretty small town, but picturesque and beautiful. The route is not actually 1,200 kilometers, it's longer than that usually. It's hard to pin down the exact mileage because everyone has their own different GPS mapping technologies or their Garmin works a little bit differently. But it was around 1,230 or 1,250 kilometers last time, so 760-ish miles.
Is it always 90 hours though?
The time limits are always the same regardless of the distance, so when the distance increases or decreases a little bit, you just gotta ride farther. And then in terms of climbing, that'll be published when the route is provisional, but last time around it was about 40,000 feet. Connecting that to the joys of the people around you, that was fun because... Yeah, fewer meters, if you're worried about that. There were about 11,000, maybe 12,000. There were maybe 3 points along the ride where people had signs up saying, "Congratulations, you just completed an Everest." They each had their own figure, like, "Oh, it's in front of my house, so I'm gonna go there." But they didn't talk to each other, so that was fun. It's fun to see that. The route is largely country roads. It's not like major cities. You don't see a whole lot of traffic lights. You don't go through all that many towns, honestly. A lot of small villages, a lot of farm area, a couple of forests and parks. And it's all it's almost all gentle hills. No real mountains. Like the biggest climb, I think you can all keep me honest here, is coming back into the control of this little town that was built on top of a hill for fortification in Mortain. Way back in Mortain. It's awful, but it's short. So no mountain passes, but also no long flat stretches. Just kind of undulating 3% for days. So there's a total of 18 official controls. I think it's 8 in the way out and then 10 on the way back. You go to the same places each time. When you're at the controls, you actually have to stop in. You have to get your passport stamped. Every control has food. I think they've all got a place to sleep, if not most of them do. We'll talk more about food and provisions, but it's always there. It's for purchase, but it's not very expensive. And it's a quick way to make sure that you're getting food along the way.
Wait, when you say passport, is this like a
Remain
passport for
card.
life?
They give you a
Or
remain
remain
card
card.
that they call a passport. It gets stamped at every location. There's a timing aspect. Each control technically has an open and close time based on your start time. Ignore that.
No, that's changed. That's changed.
Oh, good. That threw Jonah off when he rode with us last time. It's not helpful, so just know that there are controls. You actually have to stop them. If you pass one, you're going to get disqualified. They are really obvious, so like you have to go out of your way to miss them. The route's well marked generally, so it's not hard to follow it well. You basically are never without people around you the whole way through.
Dave?
Did they do they had electronic tracking of some sort?
Yeah, so there's like a chip in your number, and so as you pass through the entrance of every control, it'll update when you entered that control on a publicly available website. So all your friends and family can track you along the way. You can try to figure out if you're catching up to your friends on course or if something's gone horribly wrong with them. But all it tells you is when you enter each spot, so it doesn't help out with did the person go to sleep there for 3 hours? Is that why they're...
And it doesn't eliminate the stamp,
You still need the stamp. So they check the stamp at the end to make sure that you've got all of them, including the one secret control. It's not very secret because it's well marked, and you have to follow the course anyway. And I think it's the same place every time anyway. So easy to follow the course. It's just a really long course. You're gonna be out for days.
All right. So the next topic is going to be the logistics on and off the bike. So Patrick will go through.
Alright. So on the bike, English is widely spoken. I was able to get some people that haven't tried French at all generally get by. I speak very broken and Duolingo-based French, which got me about a phrase in before I got stopped. Navigation, all turns are marked. Some are marked better than others. They do have, if you look at the slides, there are they kind of glow in the dark, but they have a reflective sign. The pinkish means, I think pinkish was Brest, yeah, light blue was Paris. And it's all on a big yellow sign. I think I missed about 2 turns last time. That night, just because sometimes you miss. I mean, it is a reflective triangle, but sometimes you miss it, or sometimes someone tries to do something really fancy, like make a flashing one, and you don't think it's real.
Were you using any kind of GPS device? You still miss it?
Just as backup. I didn't have it turned on, but I
So you were just using a machine and times.
just watch the signs.
You know what most people do?
Everybody.
I mean, I had them downloaded for backup, but there's only a handful of times where there wasn't someone else's like.
So,
That was my other question. There's always someone on the road.
Yeah, but they can be too.
just a quick note. I remember when I first went out in 2015, I was freaking out over navigation because for us in the U.S., we have to rely on navigation, Q sheet back then. I remember Tim said, "Wait, don't worry about it." And I refused to listen to him. I said, "What will you know, Tim?" Despite the 5 times and the 6 times he's finished. So, about an hour into the start, I shut off my navigation. I was sucking up a lot of battery because all of the turns. So I'm just giving you the context. Sorry.
Are they do people pull the signs out though too? That's where I read on those things, and it's mostly at the tail end of when you're like wrapping this up.
Some people have committed larceny and stolen the sign when they stopped out.
I DNF'd in Carhay, and I wanted to get my son a present. And so, the time had passed for even the inbound riders. So there was an intersection that had like 10 signs. It was a roundabout. And I happened to find my way. One was loose. And so I brought an outbound one, which nobody would have been using that. And I happened to find a way to bring it in.
They actually mitigated last year. They gave you a sign.
Yeah, yeah.
And you also get people just standing out in corners pointing the way for you. Like the first time I did it at 1 in the morning, there was a guy in his bathrobe with a flashlight pointing at his sign and going like that, standing in a roundabout, making sure everyone made the right turn.
That's awesome.
So I downloaded. They don't use.
They don't, yeah, they use another app, yeah. Exactly. Yes, yeah, exactly. I just downloaded it to see how it works. You can kind of change it into a Garmin, but a lot of people are like, it's trash. It's just.
I brought my computer. I downloaded
That's,
it.
yeah.
I had his backup.
Trash. Yeah.
I think I took. They offer in different versions. I think there's 1 file, 2 files, or broken down to every control, every number control, which put it to like 10 files. So I did the 10 and then just whichever one I felt. I don't think I need it.
And if you use computer as backup, make sure you have the maps. So I tried that in 2019 without having the maps. Didn't quite work.
2 days before in my hotel, I just downloaded maps off Garmin. Put the ones in. They're all actually manually plugging into an actual PC to make sure it works.
Were you getting anything from Ride GPS, or were you getting it all from the Garmin?
All from what they gave. I didn't turn Red GPS because I don't trust Red GPS. Foods for sale controls. Get the €20 so they use to make a control. Probably less than that.
What was that?
About €20 control that you spend on food. And food is cheaper in Europe. Something would be like €10 to the cafeteria.
And the controls are roughly every 50K, you said.
A little less than 100. Usually I would say probably an average 90.
But the first control is like 200. So you have a long distance to your first stop. There's a place for food before it, but the first real control is not close to the start.
There's a stop that's a control and wait back the operating power. And that's at about 50K.
Okay. It's the first place to get food is 70, based on the most recent courses, is 75 miles out. There's a couple of times. It's not a control, but they've got a cafeteria that you can go through, and also, I can't remember if they had an express. I don't think they've got an express. Sandwiches. Where? At Montagna?
I think they did.
Yep,
They did? Okay.
They had like they had the barbecue pit outside, sausages. They had the counter for quick baguettes, quick food, and then they had the cafeteria. Villages along the way. Villages along the way. Last time I didn't stop at any time before. I stopped at a couple. I think that was more a matter of timing. Some controls are busier than others, and it depends on when you be there. It might be quicker to just get the controls, get the food there, and go a few blocks down the way and find a cafeteria at the street.
Do you generally just depend on the food you find, or do you bring any of your own personal nutrition?
I brought Scratch.
What's that?
Scratch. I brought that because I'm not relying on that outside there. I brought, I think, stew waffles. And then I think I hit a grocery store before to get little pancakes or something, stew waffle. Keep those in my bag. I don't think I ate right that time last time because I bonked at about 300K. 300K into a started like bonk already.
I think like a lot of people have their own strategies. Like people are really going fast to bring a lot of their food, but like I was not going really fast, and it was impractical to bring 4 days worth of food, like booze and gels and stuff, on the bike. And there's enough food from towns, from patrols, from people who just want to give you some raisins and bread and some water on the side of the road, that it's not hard to find food, and it's not hard to like figure out how you're going to be okay from control to control, because there's just like you're not in the desert in the middle of nowhere. You're still going through people's neighborhoods, and they're gonna help you out. And there's shops that will often even have their own specials, and like just try to entice you over because they got Paris-Brests or whatever croissants or coffee along the way. So it's not hard, and I like. Oh yeah, sure. I had no problem just finding food along the way, and like the big thing, we'll get to this in a moment, is leaving space in your bags and in your equipment to pack up food when you see something really exciting that you're going by, so you've got it on the road later.
But you will not find a convenience store on the route. They don't have 7-Elevens, APMs, and PMs. No gas stations with convenience stores. So you will find an occasional lingerie, patisserie, even a bar might have some stuff.
So there are.
Night you're kind of on the road. Daytime you're fine.
There are some like around the controls, some just from bakeries and whatnot. They will support the riders and maybe stay open up later or open up early, provide food or whatnot for those who don't want to eat at the controls. But there's no guarantee. That's the only point.
I assume that you'd be getting about 1,000 calories at every control, and then bringing enough food and space in between that to make a difference.
Did any of you guys drink your calories while you were on the ride?
No,
Regular scratch.
Regular scratch?
I still have sandwiches in my jersey
You
pockets.
just ate your calories, you didn't drink your calories. Okay, got it.
The part of it, I guess, with the super scratch, but
How was the temps for you guys when you rode?
temperature, like by their standards, it was hot.
What is that?
By their
By their
standards.
standards, it was hot.
Well, for
Which
us,
means,
like,
like,
you know,
80
we're like,
degrees.
yeah.
Oh.
80 degrees, it was better than 2019. I remember leaving Cartier, I saw a pharmacy with temperature, and this is at like 5 in the morning, it was 8 degrees Celsius.
Yeah.
So about 44, it's cold for us.
So you're hitting everything.
San Diego.
We're frozen.
The cold mornings with the thick fog were really rough because it just sucks the heat from you. And then last time around, there was one afternoon where it was maybe only 80 or 85 degrees, but it must have been 90% humidity. So you could just feel the sweat dripping everywhere. So that was pretty rough, but San Diego's you're going to be fine for the heat. Doing rides here, the overnight cold might be something you have to seek out some cold temperatures to be ready for.
They've had some beautiful rain for some of that.
2007 was the rain year.
Yeah, that one rained non-stop. Non-stop.
Well, the last day was okay, but before that, you got wet. And everything in your bags got wet. So that was a problem here.
But why the percentages, are they generally going to be dry or?
No. You gotta be.
It rains at least 3 times a year.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll cover that a little bit, but you gotta at least be ready for it. And maybe being ready is just, I'm gonna get wet and that's okay, but it's very likely to happen.
I think it rained 2 days before.
Yeah, in 2019 it was dumping rain until the hour that it started, I think. And then in 2023 it rained on the last day, and so one of the guys from San Diego crashed in the rain in the last 20 miles and sprinted in without checking if he was okay first. He was okay, but it was alarming for him.
So I think 2019 was, it rained until about maybe 2 hours before the start when it stopped.
Yeah.
And I think it didn't rain on that. It was just cold. It was just cold in 2019.
How bad a rain was it?
It was bad.
It was bad.
Yeah, it's here by the coast in France. We would just drink.
Rain can mean a lot of different things.
Yeah.
2007 was on, we're going through a town, and you could see the water. It was like a river on this downhill. You could see the water across the road. And I stopped. There was a.
We are not discouraging you with the weather conditions.
There was an old-fashioned phone booth that I stopped into to get my wet clothes that were in my bag to put on. And then I called home while I was there. And then, yeah, that was before big cell phone usage. And then I got to Titiniac, and the sleep area in Titiniac is basically a dorm, a multi-story dorm. And got into a room and put my shorts. You open up a door for the drawers, hang your clothes on it. The only problem with that, by the time I woke up 3 hours later, all the water had gone down to the bottom of the shorts, and so that was wet. So until the sun came out, your clothes were wet. That was that.
You're very tough.
Good work to cover. Drop bags or full self-support. So 2019 and prior, there was a private company that would provide drop bag services. They would also provide all sorts of logistics like hotel as well. They stopped doing it, so last year RUSA had some volunteers step up to offer drop bag service.
So, explain, the drop bag service is where, before the start, you would have your belongings that you need to replenish or to change your clothes, that you would then pay someone, in this case, Rusa, Deb, to, I think it was Ludiac.
No,
Ludiac. And they're at Ludiac.
400K out and then 400K back. Like, that's where most
So-
people do their overnight. So that's where they put the drop
So
bags.
they put the drop bag where you can go get your bag and then whatever. And they just explain. Here in the U.S., we, as organizers, we provide the service in your registration fee. For PBP, you'll have to pay on top of that. It's not something that the organizers provide. It is something to which whatever the country support or whatever, before it was a private company. Just to make sure that we're aware where you go, well, why are there no drop bag service offered by the French ACP? Well, they don't.
Did any of you not use a drop bag service?
I didn't the first time and it was a mistake. I just carried a bunch of stuff with me unnecessarily, and I did the second time and thought I should have been doing this the whole way, and I will every time in the future.
So you brought you were carrying too much stuff.
Yeah, I had a really big tail bag, like one of the under the seat bags that we use for bike packing, and it was 9 liters maybe. It was like this big, and it was just swaying around and rocking the bike and adding a bunch of weight when I had changes of clothes that were sweaty on the way back and could have been someone else's problem in a stack of bags and not something I had to sort through every time I wanted to find my arm warmers or leg warmers.
There's no guarantee in 27 that there will be drop bag service. Deb Banks from Davis provided that service. I don't know if Deb's going to do it again. She very well may, because she really likes PBP. And Patrick and I were looking at this provisional route, and it's always been at Ludiac. And when you take a look at the provisional route, there's one point where the routes meet. We don't know if that's Ludiac or more a place called Titiniac, which would be roughly mile 225 outbound, where Ludiac was mile 270 or 275. So whether or not there'll be drop bag service, we don't know. And whether or not Titiniac would have a spot for it, I guess they could, by where the stage was.
They redid Cincinnati last year. They changed locations.
That's
It's
right.
more like a gym rather than a dorm.
Yeah.
see, off
From your
by,
observation, do most of the riders, international ones, do they use drop bag service as well, just from your observation?
yes.
Japan.
Yes, the Japanese is actually kind of stereotypical and kind of funny.
Now,
They are all the exact same bag, and they're exactly in alignment.
but Germans, on the other hand, will not provide. The German tradition of randonneuring is full self-support. Just to give you an idea of the national characteristics.
And the Americans are just
Kind of spread.
I'm not sure if the UK does, because I've seen in Fougere, I've seen that they've had a big bus that has bags with it, and that's kind of like the midpoint between the start and Brest.
I rode with the UK guy in 2019. They had a van, and that was just his group. So I think all of those other locals,
Clubs.
but they could just take a van to the channel.
So, one point I didn't add was that riders are allowed to have personal support, but they have to register with ACP. And I think they have to be at the controls point. So I remember there were like clubs, like out of Spain, a Spanish club, they would put together, the wives and the non-participants, civic and others, would like rent an RV and provide that club members logistics. So just throw some ideas out there to anyone who has civic and others who would like to have a free tour of Europe or France that they can provide. Anyway, I just want to throw that out. Sorry.
And if you have it, if you have your own support the controls, they have to drive a different course, and they can only provide support in the area of the controls. And so you'll start seeing vans a kilometer before you get to the control, another kilometer after the control, with everybody that's providing support for riders.
And rooms or cots available at the controls, but that is a little bit of a game of chance.
So you can ride with
I have a question, sorry. Does the city of Brest have enough capacity to accommodate all these people overnight?
I would not count on hotels. It seems like you're gonna book a room, fight with lots of people, show up for 3 hours, and then leave and pay a lot of money for it. The controls are largely, like, a lot of them have big gym areas that they set up like a refugee center of all these people like barely hanging on at cots or like dorms. And like Patrick was saying, like, maybe there's a line to get to it, but also you can just keep riding until the next control, and maybe there's not a line there. And so it seems like a safer way to go than counting on knowing where you're going to be months in advance when you're on this ride, when you don't know how it's going to go, and there being a person there to let you in so that you can stay in a hotel for 3 hours and have paid for it the night there.
So last year I got to Brest probably at around 10 o'clock, I think. So that's about when sunset is there. There was an hour wait for a bed. So I said,
that was at the control, that was just the refugee center at the control.
thank you very much. Keep going, and then I worked out, and there was a secret, there's like a second secret control on the way down.
Yeah, lots of
I'm trying to find a picture of mattresses. Oh, you just grab a mattress, it's actually nice and it's free, whereas most controls are paying. You pay for your cot, and it's strictly regulated. If you bought 5 hours, you get 5 hours, nothing less, or nothing more. And there will be a person with a flashlight waking you up.
So the secret controls are just, they're well marked, you're riding throughout, it says you gotta stop here.
That one was like, I was trying to find places to sleep. Every bank teller was full. Every lobby of a bank would have an ATM, full to sleep.
So in the sense of sleeping, I'm exactly the secret controls.
Yeah, it's just not
It's just-
In my whole randonneuring career, I've never seen a secret control.
And there's suddenly the road gets gated, like the standard security gates on the road, and it's routing you right into the gym.
What about bivy bags or bring your own?
Yeah.
You just bivouac or sleep on the street.
People do the shock blankets a lot. People definitely sleep on the side of the road, take a 15-minute ditch nap. It's a great way to recharge for a few minutes. It's probably not the way to get a full night's sleep. Well, not a full night's sleep, but like an hour or more of sleep. It's good for a quick pick-me-up, but I did try that in 2019, and it was cold and loud, and I got a nice hour of peace time, but didn't sleep well, so better to take a nap on the side of the road when you're exhausted or sleep in a control to like actually recharge.
So for those who've never done randoneering or long distance, the ditch nap is just sleep on the side of the road.
Pull into
And
someone's
FYI,
driveway or a
understand
traffic
that
circle or
it's
into a
part
park.
for the course of that.
Yeah, I slept under a tree in front of a church and I watched bats fly overhead for a while. It was lovely.
But it's culturally okay to do that.
Well, I was doing PBP. I don't think doing the regular time. It was kind of a funny. I mean, it was a meme. It was like the difference between a homeless person and a randonneur is we have better reflective gear. It's kind of bad.
I think I did like a couple 20-minute day naps too. And my goals were just my helmet on my head, just close your eyes for 20 minutes and get back.
So if you plan to sleep in the controls, you plan for strategize of an additional hour of just lining up or.
Yeah, because now he's even I had a start wave. If you have this later start wave, it's even worse.
Okay.
Generally, I want to go. First night I want to go as almost well. First night you don't sleep. You're at 90. Just second night you don't get as far as you can until you need to, and then hope and pray.
Thank you, Pat.
Also, if anyone has questions afterward about sleeping and how to do that, I did the 84-hour last time, which was a mistake, but also all the cots were open. So happy to talk about that. And then the 90-hour the first time, and moved at a crawling pace because my knees did the same as Tim's riding partners. So I've seen a range of sleeping outcomes, but I think what I would recommend is plan to figure it out as you go. Have a place where you would like to stop and sleep, but then if you're tired earlier, stop and sleep earlier. If it's full, keep going and find a spot that you can. But if you book a hotel, you're locked into that hotel, and you don't know for sure you're going to get there at a reasonable time, or if it's when you want to sleep, so it just doesn't seem like a great call. So let me talk about equipment, the most important part of which is figuring out what you're going to do about your bike. There's also what you're going to bring with you, but you'll figure that out a little more over time. So I suspect many of you have an idea of like the ideal randonneuring bike of a steel bike with rim brakes and down tube shifters and the front bag and a dynamo light and beautiful hammered reflective fenders. And I will tell you that is a very American view of what randonneuring is. The Americans love classic French bikes way more than the French do. So really what you should be riding is the bike that you like to ride. Ride your bike more distance, figure out what works, what doesn't work, figure out what you would do differently as you add more miles, as you add overnights, as you accidentally go through rain or hail or cold or warmth. Figure out what you would change and go from that. People ride everything. There's ellipticos, there's tandems, there's recumbents, there's fully fared recumbents. There was a guy who had a homemade bike with a cooler welded into it. There was a triplet. There was one elliptico last time. Tim's seen a guy do it on a scooter. And I've seen people on fat bikes. There's people on single speeds, on full fixies. There's everything. So you can do it on whatever you want. The roads are really good there. The important thing is ride your bike and figure out what works for you and what doesn't work for you. And it's going to be different for everyone, and it's going to be different depending on what you're trying to do. If you're trying to go really fast, maybe you'll be okay carrying less stuff and just dealing with the cold overnight because you have less stuff to carry. If you're trying to be comfortable, maybe you want more bags with you, and that's fine to have a little extra weight because you know you've got warm gear, you've got wet gear, you've got extra batteries, you feel comfortable with what you're doing. Everyone's got their own style. The important thing is do more rides leading up to it, figure out what works for you, and figure out what makes you feel confident in going a longer distance, because any bike you bring is going to be fine there.
you presumably have done at least one 600 before doing this. And
You've definitely done a 600. We'll get to that in a minute. But
and
you've
so,
absolutely
you know,
done it.
in your experience, was there anything between the 600 and this that you wish you had done differently? You did the 600s and you fixed whatever problems that were there, but did that still leave you with things you would have done differently?
I didn't find that to be the case. My only problem was my big thing was bringing too much with me. I tend to be one to be a bit of a belt and suspenders guy when I'm packing the bags, and so it's too much. So like, I brought a whole spare tire and inflatable like mattress pad the first time, and it was just wasted weight and wasted space. So I think the Sullivans are very different. They're quite the opposite side of that, and are going to be on the minimalist side. But the big difference between the 600 and the 1200 is exhaustion, not like the equipment that you're using. So once you're riding through the night, you'll have a sense of temperature swings. And do you like to wear clear glasses at night? Do you like to have when it gets cold, or a little bit cold? So you'll need to be ready for big temperature swings from the cold of the night to the heat of the day. You'll need to be ready for rain. Again, that might mean just seal up your electronics and get wet, and that's fine. But you'll have to figure that out for yourself. And then the big thing you'll also figure out is what works for you with food. Because everyone has their own different stomach and what works well or what doesn't work well, and what they like to eat on the side of the road and what they want to bring with them. Personally, I didn't bring a whole lot of food with me. I had some blocks, but mostly just grabbed food at the controls, grabbed food on the side of the road. There's people everywhere with food. I found it helpful to have some extra space in my bags that I could reach while I was riding, because you fill up with extra food, or you eat the food, or you put on your vest or your gloves as it gets a little bit colder and you take them off, and it's nice to not stop every time that the temperature changes a little bit. So good to leave a little bit of extra room so that you can make changes while you're riding, while you're moving there. The other big thing is you have to have lights. Aside from a good idea, they genuinely check it to make sure it works. So a big question is dynamo lights versus battery lights. I have done both. They both work great. Battery lights are getting better and better over time. If you all haven't used them before, dynamo lights, the front wheel charges the lights, and so you don't have to worry about batteries. Those work really well until you get a flat tire on the side of the road in the middle of the night and have no light to see what you're doing. You change it, easily solved with a little camping headlamp, but either one can work great. People do both. Again, do an overnight ride, see what works for you. Don't just buy a new bike because you're pretty sure you should. Most people are on just a regular carbon road bike.
It used to be a rule that you had to have backup lights as well. I don't know if it's still a rule or not.
They didn't check mine, but I definitely have them.
Yeah,
What
I
do you
recommend
consider
it.
a backup light?
Just a second.
No, just a second.
Is a pencil headlamp a backup light or not?
I would have two lights on my two handlebar lights, and I carry a rear light in my bag, an extra rear light in my bag. Those are generally smaller.
And bring batteries, especially if you use electronic shifting. I saw some people with like spare coin cell batteries for their SRAM shifters and extra derailleur batteries, which was a good move on their part. If you've got electronic shifting, your phone's gonna run out of batteries in 4 days. Bring stuff to charge that, and your GPS. None of your stuff's gonna last 4 days of active use. So just be ready for all of that. That's where the drop bag can help, because carrying that big battery pack with you is a lot of weight that you're mostly not using. So,
Did you charge when you were riding the bike or when you stopped at controls?
I charged when I was riding because you're not at the controls for that long for the most part. So even if you sleep, maybe you're sleeping for 3 hours, so you're probably not going to get a full charge out of it.
I have a pack in my. I had 2 frame bags, one triangle, one at the rug. If you look at the box type bag, I have the battery, the external charger there, and the cables.
And you won't have an electrical outlet at any of the controls that you can plug into. Don't get that one.
Or maybe you will if you happen to be the first one to run to the side of the wall in a gym and no one else has gotten there before you. You definitely can't count on it. But I'm happy to talk to anyone about the specific stuff I brought. But for now, do the full series and you'll figure out what you're missing each time. or what you didn't need if you had. But you just have to be ready for a wide range of weather, wide range of temperatures, wide range of like, is there good food around or not, and to repair anything that you need to repair on the side of the road. Oh yeah, aero bars, now legal. A lot of people were riding aero bars the last time I did PBP. So you can have those, they're good for more hand positions, they're good if you happen to be in the front of a pack or riding on your own, which is pretty uncommon. But they are legal, so a lot of people were using them. They seem great. I intend to try it next time. But they also get in the way of handlebar bags. So up to you to figure out how that works. And I have no specific guidance because I'm going to be figuring that out with you.
I've done 12 hours with air bars. I did the 12-hour Borrego Springs, the World Time Trial.
Yeah.
It really depends on how shitty the roads are. Because you will feel this, and it
So,
will just eat you
French
up.
roads are very.
If it's like glass.
Well, I would say it's completely like glass, but it's a lot better than what we have in the
Almost
US.
all. There were a few that were lightly textured, but nothing like Borrego Springs where there's
Yeah,
like
it's
broken
just
road.
garbage.
Well,
Yeah,
so there's-
really nothing like Lazy Lizard if you've all done that one where it's just, it might as
So-
well not be paved.
Hero bar, you think, is about dynamics, but in fact, it's about your hands. Because you have to think about the fact that for 90 hours that you're gripping on a traditional drop handlebar. I mean, I remember on another Grand Randonnée, my left hand, because it was hard to shift the big chain ring, was for 6 months essentially a claw. And then so the aero bar has give you a chance to actually relax.
It does, unless you just kind of sit like a comforter. That's
But
why
it's-
a lot of people are like, oh,
Exactly.
the AT is nice too, because you don't have shifting fatigue in your hands.
Correct.
And now they have the aero bars with the shifters on the top.
Yeah, as a minor plug for going one by, with the steady 3% grades, it's like right where you switch between chain rings. And in 2023, I found myself constantly changing chain rings to go one gear because you're just right around that middle spot, and it just drove me nuts by the end of it. So I'm planning to go one by for the next one.
All right. Thank you, Nick. So next we get into like the logistics of flight and bike transport, which is the burning question that we all have.
Airport. There are two primary airports in Paris, but most likely you're going to be Charles de Gaulle. I mean, there is Orly. I think I've heard of people flying out of Orly. Not often.
West
The American Airlines.
So I would. Is there other place to go?
So in 2019, I managed to find a Air Tahiti, because from Tahiti they have to fly through LA,
Okay.
and from LA with a direct flight into
Yeah,
Paris.
you can do LAX. Right?
So flying out of LAX is cheaper, but than San Diego. But yeah, it has its challenges.
Are there any direct San Diego to Paris flights?
You'll have to lay over somewhere.
I think. What I do, I think I
Two
did.
runways.
You have three options, either England, Netherlands, or Germany.
There is a direct flight to Amsterdam. It's only a 3-hour train ride.
So the reason why is that when there's baggage handling, there's now a variability, and you can't guarantee that your bike will ride with you. And I've seen many randonneurs in tears trying to figure out, well, you know, the airlines is not working with them to get their bike that's been misdirected. So just a thought.
And with de Gaulle, don't know how your geography is, but de Gaulle is up here, Paris is here, Rambouillet is here. It's a trek. I would say probably 2.5 hours or so to get to Rambouillet, even if you're going
That's train or bike or?
by train. By train. Some people have done shuttles and cars. I don't know. So I can't.
Are you staying in Rambouillet?
It's the next
Actually,
topic on the town.
let's jump there. Let's go there. I stayed in Rambouillet last time. I don't think there's a good answer, honestly. I'll be frank. I don't like the Rambouillet start because there's not much Rambouillet. It's a cute town, but it'd be like starting out one. Not much else around there outside of town. It's a retreat. The whole purpose is a retreat. I was getting 30,000 steps a day. Just walking from my hotel to town. Just get to train. There's one hotel in town. I don't know if I'd recommend staying it because one, it's expensive, and two, there's a concert every night, 3 nights before, right outside.
That's the Mercure?
I think it's a Mercure. But they were having this right outside where they're having the party for PBP.
Oh wow.
Yes.
Do they have Airbnbs?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, I stayed at one. I know it's a topic for later, but there is a very big college town that has the National Velodrome that's maybe 20 minutes away by train, and so a lot of people stay there. So it's a pretty easy train ride in.
So
It used to start out of San Diego.
So the town is called San Quentin, or St. Quentin. Which
is about
not the jail in California, but the prison. What?
Some of it looks like
it does actually, but that's French architecture there for you.
Actually, it's their attempt at suburbia.
Excuse me?
That was France's attempt at suburbia. It really was.
So
it's the last stop, one of the last stops on the train. Versailles, another option, because Versailles is about 5 kilometers from San Quentin. There are a lot more hotels there. A lot of people would stay there. The nice thing with San Quentin is it's pretty much like if you took just any suburbia from here, it's a bit like there. Like the hotel we would stay at before was on top of a mall, which was handy because there's food.
Big shopping.
if you need to buy your provisions or whatever, last minute, you can do it. San Quentin has that.
Also good because a lot of people are staying there, so if you stay a little bit closer to Rambouillet, the train's already full of bikes and you have to wedge your way in. But if you're in San Quentin, it's an open train when you wedge in with everyone else, and so you have a little more likelihood of getting on it. But anyway, it's way early to figure out your hotel. Like, you don't have to stay there.
Not really. Because
If you want to get a hotel at the start, now's the time.
Yeah. Rambouillet, hotels open a year in advance. That's when I put my reservation for a place there. It's a good thing. The other catch with Rambouillet is there's not much for dining options. Like I didn't see an Italian restaurant, which is a little bit of a problem for a long ride. So if you want to take your gamble, well, there's French food, so you have the steak and fries. Not great for a ride. Or if you want to take your chance at French interpretation of Indian food or Thai food, you can.
Or the American restaurant called the White House.
The catch with San Quentin or Versailles, they were on the train. 2019, I finished at probably like 2 in the morning, I think. And I think I hung out and finished on for a couple hours. Took the 5 in the morning train, which was the first one. Luckily, there was somebody working security at the hotel let me.
How early do you have to be at the starting point?
Depends what time you're doing. I would say you probably want to be there, 3 hours at a time? Correct.
Yeah, but also if you're doing the 90 hour, which if it's your first time, strong recommend do the 90, not the 84 hour, having done them both. Would not recommend the 84 again, especially if you don't know what you're getting into. There's like a big festival the whole day, and it's really fun to go watch all the other bikes go off. There's in between the 80 and 90 hour groups, there's the special category. They put all of the tandems, all of the recumbents, all of the ellipticos in one category, and it's really fun to watch all of them go off at once, like a big bike circus happening at once. And the past 2 events, and maybe this one as well, there's a big bike builder expo at the start, and all of the handmade bikes also ride PBP, and so there's a big festival going on for that. And because the 90-hour groups don't start departing until 2 or 3 in the afternoon, I don't remember exactly. It's not hard to be there ahead of time, so you're not gonna like sleep until noon and then leave your hotel promptly at 12:30 to get there. You're gonna have some time beforehand, so there's a bunch of stuff going on.
How long was registration? Where you showed up? Registration.
We can go to that later. We'll get to that later.
Give me idea before.
Yeah, getting back to bike transportation, it's really the only option now with the airline. Bike flights, I know there used to be a private guy who did that many years ago, but does bike flights do that? Can you do something internationally with them?
All the people that we get a bike box, break it down, we check it in with our flight. And then upon arrival, we get it, and then there was a point someone brought up, actually, out of LA, Greg Cardell. The only part of the transportation to the start that does not permit bikes is the Paris Metro. So if you're staying in Paris somewhere, I'm going to take my bike. Let's say you decide to stay in, Saint Michel, whatever, and you built up your bike at your friend's house with the Airbnb. I'm going to go to the start now. I'm going to take the metro to Montparnasse to catch the train. You will have a problem because the Paris Metro will not allow bicycles.
It's pretty easy to fly with your bike too, and like bike boxes are expensive, but a lot of bike shops will let you just rent one for a week. So you don't have to buy one. I have not bought one. I just borrowed one from a local shop or rented one from online, so I don't have to deal with it. I did soft cases. I've heard arguments for soft cases over hard cases because TSA is more likely to be gentle with them because it's not a hard case, but I got a dented rim in the soft case last time, so I don't know what the best is, but you don't have to buy a case. It's easy to fly with them, but it is good to have wheels in a small case because it's a real pain to get a big case on the train.
I have a bike lost on my airline.
All right.
Transport from the airport to wherever you're staying is an adventure. Many of the French, if you take metro, twofold. One, on the train. Well, you have to take metro sometimes.
I can.
Yeah.
So there is a airport bus that goes from Charles de Gaulle to Montparnasse. I think it's 10 euros, maybe 12 or 15 now with inflation. But back in 2019, I was able to, well actually I did it in reverse, but I was able to get to Montparnasse from my hotel along the route, and then I took the bus over to the airport. But that is a viable transportation option. What I did was 2019 was I bundled in a pre-PBP tour of Normandy beaches. And what I did was I rented a car and I drove out there and then got back to the start. Other ways you can figure it out.
Other issue is PBP's in August, which in France is holiday season, which is also means it's infrastructure and construction season. So what metros are available shifts every year. Like last year, the RER, which is kind of like the Paris version of the coaster, didn't go all the way into downtown. So you have to take it one from the airport to downtown, get on a metro with a bike. Oh yeah, also this was also constructed 100 years ago before they had elevators and escalators.
And some of those buildings are huge. It's just a labyrinth of a train station. It's kind of fun. It's its own adventure.
We lucked out in 2019 and we got on the RER from the airport with a bunch of people from Thailand, Malaysia. So we at least had to do like a bag carrying system to keep it protected. But you're going to be dragging a bike up and down the stairs in the metro while you're jet lagged. And think ahead of time because sometimes the train might have construction on it during that time.
What was your personal jet lag program? You got there X days before or?
Move that to, we'll try to move it ahead. Okay. Maybe take that at the end of the discussion if you don't mind. Because you're, okay.
Bike box storage. I've had it vary based off the two hotels. The first one was through a travel agency for PBP. They had a conference room about the size of this, that was just full of bikes. And then you had a separate spot. The staircases were full of bags. Whereas San Rambouillet, they actually let you in the room, which is generally an improv things. But I was allowed to have my bike for day care. I think they kind of knew that's why it was there. And I just kept my bike box full since check this out.
So the message here is the hotels around the start of PBP are aware that you're there for PBP and they will accommodate. So I stayed at a smaller hotel in 2019 and they just allowed me to store my bike box in their storage room at no additional charge. So I think the message is that that's the least of your concern, because that was my worst concern when I first went there in 2015. I thought, where am I going to put my bike box? You know, I had no friends living around San Clemente, but anyway, that was just.
Is there any, you hear about in Tour de France, bikes are getting stolen from the teams. Is there any security issue? Not in Paris, but when you're kind of on the route and doing route type things and PBP type things, do you ever think about that?
The only time I've heard of a bike being stolen was an Irish rider, young at the time. He's the president, or has been the president of Audix Ireland. Took the ferry over and then was riding to something and stopped at a market or something and his bike was stolen.
But that's not during PBP.
That's not, that's
way
to the start. And he was Irish, he took it in good stead. When I saw him at where we were all staying at the same hotel, and he said, I called the boys back home and they brought me another bike. And he was really good about it. But that's the only instance I've heard of a bike being stolen. Every edition you hear about somebody's bike that the airline lost it, and then they're sweating it out. But we'll talk about when he should arrive, and that would hopefully give the airline enough time to find it before Sunday.
Yeah, drive days before to Rockford.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's. You want to talk about the jet lag now?
Sure.
Yeah, because I would say just kind of know yourself. I think I did 3 days, 4 days. I can't remember.
In 2019, we would have arrived probably Wednesday.
Is it? Okay. Saturday's check-in. Friday, you Wednesday, Thursday, something like that. Saturday will be your day to check in. Let's say Wednesday or Thursday will be the day you get there.
So that should answer your question.
I had a bit of a different approach. I figured jet lag's not really a big deal when you're going to ride through the night anyway, and like our sleep schedule doesn't exist. So that's true. I had a few days to make sure that like my bike was in order, do a test like shakedown ride, make sure I went to the pre-registration on Saturday, but like getting onto the appropriate schedule wasn't a priority. Like the first time I started riding at 7 at night. So, and then you just go through the night at that point, so there's no sleep schedule that gets you ready for that. And the second time I left at 5:30 in the morning after staying in their dorm room overnight where I didn't sleep because it was hot and loud, and that was an even worse way to prepare for it. So I wouldn't besides like getting onto a schedule and then just breaking it immediately. Like I think the logistics are the more important part. Like getting your hotel, getting your bike, make sure everything's ready, make sure you have time to like when I think Jonah last time found that he forgot his lights and had to go find new lights from a bike shop, and like had to go find a shop that was open in August when everything was shut down, and had to scramble for that. Making time for that, but that should be the priority.
As Patrick said, you have to judge your own body. Initially I would arrive on Thursday, and I started having a problem where I'd be up at 3 in the morning, wide awake, because of the jet lag, and so I moved it up a day to Wednesdays. But that's for me, and how my body dealt with it. And so by Saturday I was on French time and was able to feel rested at the start and get through the first night generally without any issues. Although one time I was hallucinating.
All right. Great. All right. So next we want to move to the topic of qualification brevets. That's always the most nerve-wracking and topic to go through, because first time around, it just, as I've explained before in my email, how ACP rules work seems like French tax law at the reign of King Louis XIV. It isn't really that difficult. But what it's important to understand is that, so the qualification brevets that we are talking about right now are those events that you need to finish in 2027, before June, or I think before July.
June 15th is my record.
June 15th. So essentially you have to look into the schedule for all the regions, and San Diego being the first you want to look at, or what are you basically are allowed to qualify with an ACP series. And that would include a 2, 3, 4, and a 600K. Okay? I make the point known that while for the SR series, the Super Randonneur series, could get you into the qualification, if for some reason you missed a 200 and no one else is doing a 200, you could do a 300 as a substitute. Okay. All right? Or if you missed the 300, then you can look at two 400s. So theoretically, you can do all 4 600s. Not that you would, but you cannot do 4 200s. Right? That's the point. And another point you want to note, legally, for all the regions brevet calendars, is making sure that the event you are registering for to qualify for PBP must be an ACP event, not RUSA. So a RUSA 200 offer for some reason during this qualification season in the middle of March, which is never happens. Those are not counted. Permanents don't count. So, I'm just going to go register and go ride on my own. That does not get counted. It has to be an ACP. Further, your world of routes that you can look at is any ACP route before June 15 offered by any RUSA regions. So if you miss San Diego's, or maybe the routes that I have that year just sucks, you can go up. You can go up to PCH, Karen. You can go up to. You can go to New England. You can go to Arizona, wherever it is that is available. Okay. So the recommendation that I have, and I perhaps actually just kind of advanced over into the next slide, is that you want to do at least once. You want it in, especially in 2026, which is next year, to get up to at least a 600K. Because you've never done a randonneuring event before, that overnight is critical. And actually, I would recommend, which now jumps to the next topic, is you want to do a longer event. Because you want to see not only your body, but work out the logistics of equipment and whatnot. And another point I want to just go back to when we were talking about equipment was, don't try new things 2 months before PBP. A new saddle, the new handlebars. Figure that stuff out now. There was an unfortunate event that I heard occurred to a dear randonneur. Her name is Mai. So what happened was, in 2023, she went up to Santa Cruz, I think, or to take part in a half Ironman. Her bike was stolen. She managed to get a replacement bike 3 months before PBP. 3 weeks before PBP. After the first 300 miles, she had a DNF. She had such a horrible saddle soreness. Just because. So the point is, the moral of the story is you've got to get your equipment dialed in sooner rather than later. and also get the distances in sooner rather than later. So anyway, so next we move into the pre-registration qualifications, which is now going to be the events that you need to take for next year.
So, registration is a two-step process. You do a pre-registration in order to preserve the right to register in late June of 2017. And pre-registration will start in January, probably mid-January of 27. And it depends on what distance you rode in 2026. So if you did a 1,000K or longer ride in 26, you're in the first wave of pre-registration. Then 2 weeks later, they'll start the 600K. And they do every 2 months, or 2 weeks, in stages down to 200K. In 2019, it was, I think, some 200K riders who were registering for doing a 200K in 2018 had trouble getting in. They had a quota. There's always concerns that we're going to have quotas or limits on it, just because of what the controls can handle. And so there was an initial problem that when people didn't fulfill the registration when it came to June, then there was a window for people to register late. But don't rely on just doing a 200K in 2026. And then, so it's all online. You form your account. And it's a pretty slick process now. It's pretty easy to do. When you get to registration in June, you'll go to the RUSA website. You'll get your homologation number for the 2, 3, 4, and 6 that you did. You need that information to put into your registration, your final registration. And that's when you pay the money and you order, if you want a jersey, like what weighs modeling, that's the time to order it. Registration has it also included a reflective vest, and the French did a really good job of installing or regulations for reflective vests, so that the vests really work, and they will enforce that. They have motorcycles of officials on the route, and if you're not, at night, if you're not wearing a reflective vest, they'll pull you over.
Did you say that that's including registration?
Yes, it has to be. Yeah.
So
make sure you have it.
for me, it was, before I did PBP, was to go out on an event here in the US, see an American wearing the PBP official reflective vest. It was like, oh. It was like a Letterman jacket, right? Like, oh, that person, Tim, gets to wear this vest. I mean, it's, aside from being that it's a really great reflective gear, that it does carry the symbol, hey, I've been there, done that.
There's one big downside of wearing it at PBP though, which is that everybody has that vest, and finding the group you're riding with is really difficult at night when everyone has the exact same vest and lights on. So worth considering getting a RUSA vest or a pink one or an orange one that also meets the reflectivity standards if you're going to ride in a group.
Wade puts it 2026 planning for the longest distance you can finish. My recommendation is we're going to have 10 1200s tentatively next year in the U.S. Try to do one. They're different. They're going to be different from PBP in that you're not, if you're doing the 90-hour PBP, you're riding through the night. None of these in the U.S. will start at night that I'm aware of. Also, a lot of our 1200s now are kind of like a clover leaf where you go to a hub and they're spinning you off, so you go to the same spot every night. Whereas PBP, you want to ride as far as you can the first night. They've gotten rid of the intermediate times that you have to be to Ludiac within, mile 275 within a certain time. They've gotten rid of that. But you want to ride as far as you can the first day while your legs are fresh, because on day 3 they're not going to be as fresh. I guarantee it. So you want to get ahead of the clock as much as you can to do a successful ride. Because if you don't, one, you're not going to relax the last day, because you're going to be racing the clock when you're tired, and that's not a fun way to be riding. So I've got a list of the 10 that they're going to be offering next year in the U.S. I would recommend doing that. If not, I understand that there's an excellent 600K that's going to be offered in San Diego called the Mission 600K, and it's I didn't do it the last time. I hope to do it this year. It's a good route. It's got some nice, especially the first part of it. You're going from San Luis Obispo down to Ventura, so that's good riding. Then last time people had a terrific tailwind from Mission San Buenaventura to Mission San Fernando. Then after that, you've got some city riding to get through LA, and then people found that there was a headwind on the last day of the last time. But
only what the last climb. So basically, getting into San Diego, you have to go through so much garbage that instead it would just be a ceremonial passing of the first mission site through Old Town. So you basically allowed to come down the coast. That's the major change.
just because people complained about that.
Yeah, well, I wasn't particular, but it was something. To add on what Tim said is that the earlier you can pre-reg, you have the pickings of the start groups. How does that impact your success at PBP? Well, in 2015, I was one of the 200K pre-reg qualifiers, because I found out late. In 2014, and I could only get in at 200K. So I managed to get into the P group, which is basically the meet starting 7th. That part of the start group is called the bulge. That means everyone in there is going to crowd right into the controls. You'll be waiting in line, toilets are flooded, bathrooms are dirty, you're fighting, elbows and assholes, dealing with, and you will run out of beds, and all sorts of problems, because you're part of the bulge. With that experience in hand, then in 2018 I went out to DC Randonneurs, Blue Ridge to Bay 1200, which is a beautiful route. I'm not sure if we're going to do it, but anyway, I got the 1200K in hand. On the first day they opened up pre-registration, I went in and I picked the first start group for the 90 hours. When I started, I've never had to deal with any congestions. All the foods were stocked, all the beds were available, all the bathrooms were clean. Basically, you're there as the first to show up, even though I was in the back part, because the 80-hour group were already well ahead of me. So I came in, relaxed, found beds, and also you're now dealing with, quote, pros. In the middle group, you're dealing with a lot of people who can't ride in groups. Now in the earlier start groups, presumably, you all have done 1,000 or 1,200. So that people are just much more organized. So the point being is, aside from the fact that by doing it at 1,000 or 1,200, you now have the experience of what day 3 feels like, which a 600K would never offer you. How will your body deal with that? Less of the body, it's more the mind. How do I get myself out of bed on day 3 to go do an event, continue on? But for next year, more than ever, it's important to make sure that you get that 1,000 or 1,200.
Yeah. Not a question, just a comment. I haven't heard anybody really mention physical fitness. It's been implied, but if you if you can do a 1200 in 2026 and then maintain your physical fitness, I think you'd be better off. I did my first one in June in Colorado, and it's a huge difference from doing a 600K, because I had done two 600Ks before. It's a monumental thing to do. So don't neglect the physical fitness. That's my point.
The other thing about being in one of the first waves to pre-register, when you pre-register, you get to select your start time.
That's the point.
And so the 80-hour groups, they've been starting at 4. And then at 6 o'clock is when the first wave of the 90 hours go out. And they're setting it out every 15 minutes. 15 minutes in waves of probably 300?
250, I thought. But maybe
250 riders in a wave. And so getting an early start, the sunset is generally around between 9:30 and 10. So you've got, if you start at 6 or so, you can have over 3 hours of sun, which means your average speed is going to be better than when you ride at night. You ride slower, or at least I do. And so having more daylight, get farther. And the first part of it, you're going through fields, some small villages, but you're basically in wide open spaces for the first, until you get to more contact.
This is kind of a dumb question, but in the pre-registration process, how do they know that you've done 1200? So it's just all
That jumps to the next topic. Sorry, next slide will cover that.
And as we're changing pages, the other way, if you really want to start early, that you can do it, is get into riding a tandem now. And go with the special class. They always go between the 80 and 90 hours, but
You'll be the first 90 hour.
yeah, you'll still be well served to do a 600, but you definitely will start at the beginning of the 90 hours if you ride a tandem or a recumbent.
He refuses to ever run a tandem.
All right, so getting started. What are you going to do when you walk out of here? All right. First thing is to take care of the administrative business. I know if you go back to the email I sent with the actual copy, there's a link to the ACP site. That's where you want to make sure that you are now picked up, that your records are showing at ACP. By the way, you've not known that all this time you're doing the events here in San Diego or PCH or whatever, those reports are being sent to France. You now need to make sure that you're confirmed that information's there. Okay? It seems scary in some ways, but anyway, so the thing is because you're going to be able to, that record, when you are ready to register or pre-reg, that's where you'll go and select and note, hey, I've done the 1200. Here on my record, my homologation record, this is the event that I did. So, for example, next year I'm going to go do New England's 1200. It will show up, and you will select, and then it will acknowledge, and then you will now be able to pre-reg in the first group if you've done 1200, and successively. So if you've only done a 600, you're not allowed to do the 1200 pre-reg group until your 600 is opened up. All right, so take care of that.
1200 or 1000? It has to be 1200.
No, 1,000. Okay. So at a minimum, in 2026, look for a 600. But of course, we're encouraging you to do 1,000. You want to do the 1,000 because 600 is half the distance, right? I mean, it's just not. You will not be prepared in any way. Out of here. Okay. Sorry. No worries. No, I understand. Okay.
Sorry.
As I said, I think I've repeated some other topics. You can go to other regions so long. And then, just to note that Rob, who's the RBA in San Francisco, who also helped coordinate with RUSA, there is now a plan to host a Zoom call for all RUSA members, in which they will go through similarly and perhaps other topics that we have missed today. Okay, so that will be another opportunity for you to find out more about preparing for PBP. All right? I will.
I'm going to talk a little bit about Rambouillet. We've talked about Rambouillet. What Rambouillet is a unique start location because it's got a very large chateau that I think Louis XIV may have built it. I'm not sure which king, but you also start off of the king's shepherd was there, and Napoleon used the chateau for a hunting place. He would go out there. So you start in a national park. So it's kind of unique in that way. San Quentin was just starting. It used to always start in like a recreational facility. It had a gym and a track, and we didn't have allocated start times until 2015. It was also a unique start because it was the National Velodrome that they built, where the Olympics were in 24. But in 2019, the French had the nerve to schedule the national championships on the track at the same time that PBP is starting. So they moved the start to Rambouillet, and it probably might be there for a long time. But with that, the location is kind of interesting. It's just it doesn't have enough lodging, in my estimation. If in 2019 I stayed in San Quentin, we started just outside, a couple of kilometers outside. If you're bringing your family over, the trouble with Rambouillet, if you find lodging, is it's a ways from Paris, whereas San Quentin has more lodging. The train station's within walking distance of most of the lodging, and it's an easy train ride into Paris. So if you've got family that's going to go and they want to have fun when you're out having fun, consider that as to where you start. The one problem with that is the train. If you finish in Rambouillet when the trains are running, like in the middle of the night, then you've got to hang around until the trains start. That's it.
Just a final point. Why PBP? We all ride in the U.S. How many times have we been buzzed? How many times have we had people just shout at us? Some kid, a bottle thrown at him. It may sound extreme, but when people ask me what racism is like, ride a bike. Right? And that's just the reality of living in America. We accept it, and that's fine. For me, it was like, going to PBP was like going to bike heaven without God. I know it seems like it's way engaging in some poetic exaggeration. No. I think we've already heard stories from Nick, from Patrick, from Tim, of the goodwill of the people in France. And that part, for the 4 days, you're the rock star. You're the darling. You would roll out of town from the start, and along those villages, children would be lining out there wanting to give you a high five. So I wanted to kind of, in the memories page, there was a photo, if you can see it. If not, I have this photo of this kid standing there on top of this balcony. I took that picture on my way out of Brest. What happened was I was going, I just left Brest after checking in, and I was going down this road that ends up being a T-junction. And as I got closer, I see this silhouette of a person on top of this patio. And the closer I got, I saw there was a kid. And there we were, a line of randos on the randonneurs coming out and making the left turn at that T-junctions. By the time I got to within about maybe 20 feet, this kid, maybe 10 years old, not playing Xbox, not playing, Minecraft, would walk by and he would turn to every randonneur and say, "Bravo." So, if Tim did it 6 times, and he can, I mean, the draw to go back there is such that, yeah, it's for once on a bike, I'm appreciative. And I think, is it not all of our life's purpose is to be appreciated? And not just appreciated, but in many instances, loud.
We appreciate your way.
What I wanted to make sure is that if only just but once, that find yourself the time to go one step. That's all I ask. All right? That concludes, I think. Anything else? If not, that concludes the